Good evening, Simon here, Explosive Action, back for a black metal vinyl update. I've got 9 records to talk about, so let's get into it. First up, we have a raging one-man melodic black metal band out of Flanders. Flanders in Belgium. This is, with glorious cover artwork, this is Bloedmaan, Castle Inside the Eclipse. And it absolutely is a castle inside the eclipse. What an absolutely stunning cover. The name translates fairly obviously to Blood Moon, and is formed by, I'll see if I get it right, René Thues, the lead guitarist from Ars Beneficium, whose band I'm only just becoming quite familiar with now. What you get here, if the cover didn't really suggest, which it probably should, this is a blizzard of fast tremolo riffs played in the higher registers for the most part, which reminds me of bands like Ara, Swiss band Ara, and the entire Quebecois scene, to be quite honest. Even a slower track like the side A closer here, Haunted Melancholic Obsessions, or the foot-stomping intro to the side B opener, Winged Flight Under the Pale Moon. All very much in that style. It's the half speed, but still relies on that high end of tremolo. Definitely very multi-layered sounding album. Very highly melodic, of course. Very full sound coming out of this. And the drums is what I particularly like. Very crisp sounding drums throughout this album. And they're sessioned by Frederick Guevens, I think I got that one right, who appears to be a fairly newcomer to the scene. Haven't heard his name around before. And René's just snarling, raspy vocals are a perfect fit for the music here, very fitting. And supported by sort of occasional deeper, booming shouts, I suppose, sort of there in the background. They come through fairly often. The final track on this one, The Hunter's Dream, that's a real raging track, a real great one to close the album on. A lot of bands close the album with like the ambient track or the slower one. Absolutely not the case here on Castle Inside the Eclipse. Has some sort of D-beat drumming in it as well, and a lot more triumphant sounding moments, and a very tasteful tail solo to sort of see it out. I love that it ends with like a solo like that. So overall, it's been getting a bit of hype. I think the cover has definitely helped it, but musically here, this is just a solid, frosty sounding, melodic black metal attack. It's in and out in under 29 minutes. It's your Rain in Blood length album, and it plays at 45 RPM, so it sounds as good as it looks. We'll take a quick look at the looks inside here. So we get the lyric sheet, which is quite nice. There you go. Tis mix of, let's see, this is English, no, it all seems to be English. Admittedly, I didn't actually quite check it out. There's our main man there, looking suitably castle, and we get poster, if you really want to hang that sort of nice artwork there, but it's got him there in front. Quite dark actually, that print. It's cool. And the LP itself is just black. Not sure if there was variants. I think there might have been, but I got sort of the easy to get wide release. And this was an experiment for me actually. I picked this one up through UK fairly much. You know, they're like an Amazon kind of thing. They're a sell everything company called Rare Waves. Mostly known for an eBay store under the same name, but they have a rarewaves.com. Ordered from them. It arrived. It's fine. Kind of got a bit beaten up. Lost a thing there on the front, on the top there. Not too much to worry about, you know, corner dings. But I've also had 3 others since from them, and they've had no issues. So I don't know, you know, their prices are certainly very, very competitive, but it did get a bit of a ding. But otherwise, Bloedmaan, Castle Inside the Eclipse. You like your melodic black metal really quite raging? Check this one out. Next up, we have the latest release from Austrian black metal legends, Abigor. Wow. Firstly, the title of this one, it's very difficult for me to say. Taphonomia Aeternitatis. Fucking nailed that. Taphonomia Aeternitatis. We'll go with that. Gesang im Leichenlicht der Welt. Yes. I don't know, Austrian German. Not exactly my forte. It's also a very difficult album to describe. If you are not familiar with Abigor, I don't know if I'm going to be able to really help you here. But for those that do know Abigor, I would say this is a mix of the 3 albums that have come before it. It has that sort of We Are Back black metal sound of Hollenswang, Chronicle of Perdition from a couple of years ago. That sinister sound of Totschlager, a Saint Slayer's songbook, which was the last album that they did a couple of years ago. And a bit more, as opposed to those 2 albums, there's a bit more of that experimental side from something like Leitmotiv Lucifer, The Seven Temptations of Man, from probably about a decade ago now, that one. This is a very complex album. It's a very nuanced album. And it's not what I can just tell you is a progressive, avant-garde, melodic, dissonant black metal album. It's all of those things, but it's also just simply Abigor. Those words don't really do a great deal of justice to the kind of music that the trio here of PK, TT, and Selenius are outputting on this particular album. Collectively, they're very much overflowing with ideas for this release. Selenius continues his more expressive vocal style he's been doing since, pretty much since they left the Hornix Studios and started, going a little bit more different. He continues with that style here. And, I mean, I could go through some of the tracks. Let's just take a look a little bit here at the visuals. And this thing comes in a wonderful slipcase, a really big, thick slipcase. There's the back of it there. And the gods' putrid blood is dripping through the cracks of eternity. The dead will mate with the children of the earth. And inside, we get a just as nice looking, sliding over place, glossy cover. A lot going on there. Sort of various men inside a skull. Lots of serpents in the hair on a lot of these things, so definitely a demonic portrayal. Very classic lyrics here. I love the font they've kind of used on this. It's like a 1920s cinema. Very, very appropriate in a way. And here we are with the song title. So, taking a look at the 3rd track, Feasting on Prophet's Blood, and the side B opener, Cult of Elder Chaos, and the side B closer, Morning Star Anthropophagia. They feature some pretty wild, it's got to be said, and seemingly uncredited female vocals. I couldn't see any credits for that in here, but they are quite chaotic sounding, very appropriate. Not just your clean singing and not your Cradle of Filth style clean female vocals. They're a little bit unhinged, very appropriate. But look, if you're completely somehow unaware of this era of Abigor, I suppose it's something like they're more aligned to like Deathspell, Omega, or modern Dodheimsgard than the early traditional 90s Scandinavian black metal scene. They were in the early days. The first sort of 5 or so albums were definitely more aligned to that. But the band have just grown away from that sound. Some people don't like once they've left the Hornix Studios and got a little bit more experimental, because the band kind of stopped there for a bit. And they got back together, slight lineup change, then back to the original lineup, and have been very just modern, progressive, all over the place Abigor. Mayhem at their absolute weirdest. There's a little bit here, but honestly, Abigor are just at the deep end of the pool. The track Burning in Hell is probably the most chaotic, blasting black metal track that might win over some of the earlier fans, but it's still itself a multi-layered, multi-dimensional track. It's probably my personal favorite of the album. It's probably the easiest to just digest immediately, but it is still complex and full of ideas. There's a track, if I can say this one, Forniota's Welton Rice. We'll go with that. It has a very chilling, clean sung passage, I presume from Selenius. It gives me goosebumps each time I hear that track. It's very special, I think, the way that he's sung on that, if it is indeed him. I've listened to the album all the way through about 6 times now, and I keep noticing more things every listen. It's quite possibly their deepest and most fully formed album so far, despite it being so, I'll just say, avant-garde. I don't particularly like that term when it comes to someone like Abigor, but this is not a linear black metal album for sure. And like, you can no longer really compare the music you get here. Sure, the logo is exactly the same as Verwestern, but it's pretty hard to compare what they do here for the most part. There's still 20% of that early sound, 25%. But there's been a lot of improvement, or just different, newer approaches to their music since definitely the turn of the century, put it that way. So they've been on a different level to where they've been in the 90s. You may not like it, but you really cannot deny the artistry that Abigor are displaying in this modern era, and this album is absolutely no different to that. It's a very lengthy vinyl at 49 minutes, and that would mostly, in most places, result in 2 LPs. Take a look at the inside here. There's the guys down there, looking very bald now, which usually means progressive, and some German there in front of the building they're on. That symbol they've used before. I think it's very similar to what they did, the cover of one of the previous, I think it was the Split album they did with Nightbringer and a couple other bands, the 4-way Split. I think it might be similar to that. And I ended up, I don't know if there's variants, but this one's a really nice sort of grey smoke. I'm not sure if there's traditional black or not, but very nice presentation. But the LP, yeah, it sounds fantastic all the way through. I think, you know, they've done a proper vinyl mastering job to get 49 minutes onto one LP, whereas some bands would go 43 minutes and go, oh, well, we're going to make 2 LPs. But they've got the right people on the job to make this one. So the actual LP itself, fantastic. They've got every groove to work for them. So yeah, I'm really thankful that Abigor and the label WTC didn't have to go into 2 LPs when you didn't need it. So good stuff. Sounds fantastic all the way to the inner grooves. And as I've just shown here, really gorgeous packaging. So yeah, if you have been a fan of Abigor in their more recent era, you will enjoy this album. If you did not enjoy anything sort of Leitmotiv Lucifer onwards, I don't know. I'm still going to say to you, give it a go, and particularly check out that more straightforward track, Burning Hell, because that one might at least get you in there, but it's worth listening to the album all the way through. So yeah, Taphonomia Aeternitatis, sure. The new one from Abigor, excellent stuff. Next up, we have one of the more prominent Alex Poole projects with the new album here. This is Ringare of Momentous Endless Night. Another gorgeous cover, I love this one. And this project is with frequent collaborator Lick Predikaran on vocals, and Jack Blackburn, who's also a frequent collaborator of the guys on drums. This is a particularly, for this band as well, highly symphonic, atmospheric black metal release. Just absolutely storming with the synth on this thing, and the kick drums are like a typewriter, so that's either going to bring you in or send you away, but very appropriate for the sound that they have on this album. The band was demoing in 2004 and eventually evolved into one of Alex's best known projects, Chaos Moon, which is a separate entity now. In 2019 he reactivated this band, Ringare, and it is incredibly lush sounding, this album, and this band in general. It moves in waves from chaotic blast to just pure ambient tracks. It's really one I've found to put headphones on and let it absorb you. It is just so well produced and of that style of black metal that it really benefits from close listening. As I said, very modern production. I don't find it overpowering, but you know, those typewriter type kick drums. But I think the clean sound really helps with this particular project and this particular album. 4 lengthy tracks, 42 minutes. Yeah, this is how they usually do things with Ringare, so like 10 or so minutes each, 4 tracks. And that is what you get with the release, and a lovely looking gatefold too, with lots of sort of imagery from looks like old sort of textbooks and famous art pieces, that kind of stuff. Lyrics as well. So it's a wonderful presentation. I think this is the third album, possibly fourth, or maybe it's third and an EP in there somewhere. I don't quite recall. Definitely the best one they've done so far in my listening experience of Ringare. Of Momentous Endless Night. It is just clean, melodic, atmospheric black metal. It will instantly grab you, I think, if you're into that style of stuff. I don't see why you wouldn't appreciate Ringare, unless you don't really like that modern sounding production. Like I said, I don't find it off-putting, but if you're only into raw, nasty black metal, yeah, you probably won't like it. A very appropriate looking, sort of translucent aqua kind of LP here, which goes really nicely with the cover, so good job there, guys, for matching the imagery to the LP. Not a huge color LP guy, I've said it before. I mean, I don't mind. I absolutely hate stupid splatter LP if it doesn't match the colors, but you know, when it's a nice sort of aqua that matches the main color here, it makes sense to me. Ringare of Momentous Endless Night. You like your black metal, your black metal, atmospheric and melodic and a bit clean, you're gonna like this one. Next up, we have a trilogy of new releases from the sometimes Alex Poole collaborator and very productive Swede, whose name I've never been able to say. Mike Seatown gave it a crack recently, so we're going to go with that.
Zwarte Tattoos.
That's the guy. This is the band. This is Muvitium with I Skogen's Kaga Dunkel. This originally started as a pure ambient project for the first two demos. But by the very first album started to mix in a raw sounding black metal into it as well, and he's kind of stayed with that ever since, and that's what we've got here on this new EP, supposed EP, but it is 43 minutes long. It's only 2 minutes shy of the full-length album's length from a couple of years before, so hey, but they're calling it an EP, I'll call it an EP. Musically, it's very mid-paced, melodic sounding, but pretty raw black metal. Sometimes in the some ballpark, but I'd say more the Quebecois bands, sort of Fortress, things like that. Guitars are thin in the back of the mix and purely playing tremolo pretty much the whole time. The drums, they just sort of keep pace. They don't really do anything too adventurous. It is sort of a straightforward project, I would say. I still very much enjoy it though. It's a you know what you're going to get kind of black metal. Yeah, his voice on this one though is absolutely pained and twisted. I think that's one of the highlights. Sometimes sounds a bit like Attila from Mayhem. Yeah, I mean, there's the guys there looking incredibly cavalt and in black and white monochrome. Yeah, and the last track on here, the last track on side B, that one is a little bit different. It slows right down. Very emotional sounding actually, that track. Pulling at a bit of, not sure if it's keyboards or sort of backup choir vocals. Being very raw black metal, it's kind of hard to tell if it is another instrument or if it's vocals or something, but there's definitely an extra melody that's been added into that last track. But yeah, overall this is a really good one, and might be a little challenging to find. So most of his releases and previous Muvitium albums have been on labels like Amorfati, who are, well, you don't have to get them on the first day, you've got a little bit of time. This one is out on MPR, Medieval Prophecy Records, who did the Stengarigal EP and yeah, a couple other things recently that I've picked up. And originally I didn't get this, I didn't even know this was a thing. Usually like something like Amorfati, I know it's coming, but with this Muvitium through MPR, had no idea it was coming, and when I went to check after I learned, it was gone. So I hit up Amorfati to see, are you going to get any stock? He said, I'm listing it right now. So I was very lucky to get one. Your mileage may vary, not too sure. You might have to go hunting a bit. And maybe that's why this one's an EP. It's a bit more raw than some of the other releases from the band, and it's on a smaller label with probably a more limited run. So yeah, maybe that's why it's an EP. But if you can get it, please do try and get it, because everything from this particular project is good. Take a look at what we got inside. And yeah, just adhering to the fact that this is a very rough EP, quick release kind of thing. A4 sheet for the lyrics. that it's like a photocopy. It's all you get, which is fine. Certainly not a glossy project though, and yeah, just black LP with band's logo. Both sides. That's it. It is a very straightforward release, but it is still a very good one. Skogen's Kaga Dunkel from Muvitium, released by
Zwarte Tattoos.
That guy I can't say. Definitely one of his most fully formed new projects here. Hugely symphonic, chaotic black metal that feels as much like a continuation from one of his previous projects, Trolldom. This is Secrets with Towards the Night Side. Another excellent cover artwork on this one. And I love the new logo here for Secrets. Really, really cool. Great presentation. This is such a homage to symphonic black metal from the 90s. Odium is the first thing I thought of, but of course you can't escape the Emperor comparison. But it adds in that astral space Satan themes of things like Dark Space. It's a very dark, chaotic sound. I mean, these big sort of planets kind of giving you that that vibe already. Very rich sounding, helped by it this time being a full 5-piece band. So, frequent collaborator, as I already mentioned, Alex Poole, is on this one as keyboards, and Lik Predikaren from Ringare is here on vocals, doing a very different style though. Supported by Laszlo Juhos, also of Grieve, another one of this guy's projects. He has so many projects. He's on the drums on this one, sounds really good. And a new player called Chandelier, he is on additional guitars and keyboards. Don't know much about that guy, but 5 members, and as I said, it is a lush sounding, fully formed band here. Densely packed 8 tracks into 42 minutes. Chaotic, as I said, but very quite accessible black metal here. Definitely I don't want to say it's like a gateway album or anything, but if you're not so much into the nasty raw black metal and you just really like that nice, well, nice is not the word for it, but well composed, bigger sound with good production, you're going to like this one, Toward the Night Side from Secrets. Goes from that sort of twinkly Tartaros type keyboards and bombastic drums to full throttle double bass, blasting attacks. It's all over the map. And out of the many projects that our prolific Swedes and the one American produce together or separately, I think that Secrets definitely feels like it will have a long-term future. Some of their acts that they do are sort of one album, then they do something else, but I've got a feeling Secrets is going to be around for a while, so hopefully we get some follow-up albums, because this really is quite a special one. This was released on Amorfati. I mean, look at the back of it. That's total Scandinavian 90s cover artwork there. You've got your frames around the members, and they're all doing their black metal faces and their long hair. It is exactly what you expect. Fantastic stuff. Take a look inside, and we get, again, nice artwork there on the lyric sheets. A little bit difficult to read the old words, but it does look very nice. And another basic black LP, which I think is quite fitting for something like this. So yeah, Secrets, Towards the Night Side. Pretty sure there's still copies of this one you can easily get out from Amorfati, so do check it out. And definitely one of my favourite projects from our Swedish guys, and one American that I've heard in a while. And the last of our famous Swedes projects I'll be showing today is this new 3-sided, so 2 LP with a dead D side, and it's only a demo. And this one, oh, Lord help me with the pronunciation. Klävitt, Skogen, Evigt. Demo number 1 is the name of the album. Well, it's not an album, it is a demo, but that is the name of the release. This is the polar opposite to something like Secrets and Muvitium before it. A very ambient sounding solo black metal project here. The ambience is so prominent, and it takes up the entirety of the side C. There's nothing but just ambience on that. That Metal Archives have refused to acknowledge this as a metal project. I can sort of see what they mean, but I do disagree. There is enough black metal here, particularly on side A and B. And for God's sake, they have Mortis on Metal Archives as his own artist, and they quite happily just say it's Dungeon Synth. So, I don't know, guys. I digress. There are long stretches of dark ambience, chimes, keys, all that kind of stuff. But what you mainly get here is a lot of solemn vocals, quite like something from Summoning. And like I said, the whole side C is just 23 minutes of just ambient, which does support the Metal Archive view. But the side A and side B, that's more like the first immediate comparison I thought it was the I Shall Become releases, mixed with something like a touch of Philosopheme and parts of Bluetooth Nord, not the crazy stuff, but just some parts of Bluetooth Nord. Particularly, I think sort of the way the guitar is being played is very ethereal, very flange guitar, minimal picking, but it's got a secondary distorted, more traditional black metal guitar at the same time. So it is a black metal project. It just is very heavily ambient, very sort of minimal in its approach. It's got clear bass lines, very audible, nice clean bass lines, very sort of simplistic and driving drums, which are like I Shall Become. And those vocals normally throughout have sort of a snarled, croaky whisper, like the early Emptiness albums. I thought it was a good comparison. And it does cut pace from time to time. You get some sort of tepid blasts, just sort of that kind of speed, which really I listen to those parts of it and go, come on guys, this is a metal album. It's ambient metal, but come on, don't make me have to look it up on Discogs. Just link it up for me on Metal Archives. Make my life easier, thank you. But overall, Klävitt is a very dreary, wet afternoon listen of airy, atmospheric, ambient black metal. That's what it is for me. It's drizzling outside, it's grey, and this is just sit back and listen. Just let it absorb you. It's not full of riffs, it's not headbanging, it's just an ambient black metal 3-sided LP, quite lengthy. And I really enjoy listening to this demo. Presumably we'll get more from it at some point. Recorded in 2020, so it's taken a while for this one to come out. He's got so many projects on the go, I've learnt. So many things he's recorded, probably doesn't have a name for it yet, and then eventually we get releases. And a lot of the time it's on Amalfati, so good collaborations there. And it's very unique I found by its use of that modulated guitar, like the lead guitar all the way through. It's like it's either lightly distorted or it's clean, but it's this modulated, really odd sound, which is sort of where I'm going with the Bluetooth Nord. But anyway, even for a demo, giant gatefold presentation. There you go, nice forest look there. And 2 LPs, which are completely black. I won't take them out. Just simple black LPs. And I don't know if there was a sheet or anything. I think you might have just had the gatefold. Yeah, that's it. So that's the Klävitt Skogen Evigt Ika Demo 1. If you like the black metal side of things to be very, very ambient with lengthy keyboard-only passages, give this one a go. Next up, we have a brand new 2-piece project. This is another beautiful presentation, Griefspell, Enchantments of Dark Eternity. Featuring a new entity simply going by Zed, who does all the instruments and vocals, with the exception of drums on this release, here performed by Simon Cosboom, I think is how you say his surname, from Ebony Pendant. So, good connection there to a little bit of pedigree. Raging, but melodic sounding raw black metal here. This is quite raw. With those signature Ebony Pendant drums, very familiar. Speedy tremolo rhythm guitar and a standout lead guitar layer. That's what really grabbed me with this one. It elevates the music from just run-of-the-mill raw black metal. The lead guitar on this is definitely it's almost like it's its own session and then been put in later. It completely works and fits with the music, but it is that part of the music you can almost image a separate guitarist just in his own space, in his own element as it's being played. I thought that was really quite something. So there's some keyboards and some flourish from other string instruments I could hear on occasion, but generally full throttle, pretty raw sounding black metal with the type of screeched vocals that you would expect. If you like, obviously, Ebony Pendant, earlier Lamp of Murmur, Kektarak, or otherwise the more melodic side of raw black metal, Griefspell is going to be completely up your alley. Mike Seatown, if you didn't pick this up, shame on you. Hopefully you can find it on the second market, because This has got your name all over it. As usual, it's a Goto RX vinyl. It lasted an hour at most. So, yeah, unfortunately, that seems to come with the territory. There was a bit of a lull with Goto RX for a while, where things would take a couple of days to sell out, but it didn't seem to be the case with the February batch at all. It came and went incredibly quickly, everything they had. But this is the one thing I wanted, and I was happy to be able to get this one. So, if you are fine with CDs, however, I don't want to send you down a path of you can't have this, but you could get the CD from Morbid Chapel Records, good label. They stock the album on the tiny silver disc. Let's take a look at some of the aesthetics here. Obviously, you get the OBI strip, with Magical Night Black Metal written down there on the bottom. The really nice artwork really grabbed me on this one. I like their cool logo. Aesthetically, all very pleasing. There's the guys there on the back. SC from Ebony Pendant. Look at that battle axe. Killer stuff. And our Zed, who is our mysterious man. So yeah, really nice presentation. Now, this has got to be one of the heaviest, thickest pieces of cardboard I've ever had for a record. The LP itself was in a bit more of a... See, it's even difficult to get out because it's so rigid. Originally, when this was shipped, it came in a square sort of white poly liner. It was shipped on the outside. Great, that's how you do shipping. But there was absolutely no chance of getting it inside the record, so I just replaced it with a clear. But yeah, sort of like a crimson or, I don't know, peach something. It's very aesthetically pleasing, so there you go. Do approve. Very nice looking presentation. And you do get a nice photo there, or artwork I should say, and lyrics on this side. Even this, I mean, I've got record covers that are not as thick as that. Use as a wobble board. Amazing. And I will not try and get that in back on camera. But yeah, Griefspell, Enchantments of Dark Eternity. If you can find the LP, do pick it up. Otherwise, grab the CD, because I do recommend this project. Melodic raw black metal featuring parts of Ebony Pendant. So enough of all this melody. Sometimes you just want your black metal completely direct and utterly blasphemic. And this band delivers on both fronts. I mean, look at the cover. This is Nachtmaar, Nachtmaar, with Sign of the Antichrist. Wow, two-piece Swiss band delivering completely furious satanic black metal as if you could not tell. And that's it. That is what you get. A brief moody intro sets you up for and that's about all the ambience you're going to get on this thing. Then it's just a blitzkrieg of nasty double-speed early Gorgoroth, completely savage, sort of throat-tearing vocals. Just, God, it's nasty, this one. Blisteringly tight drums and very repetitive tremolo riffs in that, you know, you're Under a Funeral Moon style Dark Throne, just they find the core and that's the entire song for the most part. It does take breaks to head into sort of D-beat territory for a few bars, a bit more looser guitars, again very Dark Throne on that world, and that early Gorgoroth. It's really, though, this is some really truly traditional sounding black metal with some just excellent riffs. The track Sign of the Antichrist here, which is the sort of the first track after the intro, it just starts with a 4 count, duh, 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 and then into the riffs. It's just blasphemic, satanic, nasty black metal. So good. I mean, as I said, tracks that start with a 4 count on the snare and then end with feedback. It's just such a plug-in and play black metal. Absolutely love it. No room for interpretation. You know exactly what you're getting. I mean, one of the two members of the band here, I mean, look at that, Invisible Oranges. One of the two members of the band here goes by the pseudonym Goathammer. That's all you need to know. You shouldn't be surprised at the music that comes out of that. So if you're kind of that black metal fan that sees that any use of keyboards, perhaps past an intro track, as being a bit fruity, then this Swiss pair have got you completely covered. I mean, bullet belts. This whole thing is just reeking of that early Gorgoroth sound and anything similar to what I'm saying here. Just straight ahead, nasty, fast, satanic black metal. They've had a couple of demos and an EP. I haven't heard them, but this is their debut full length. Came out originally on cassette early part of last year, and then ringing in the new year, New Year's Eve, they came out with this LP on Urtod Void, label I'm not familiar with, but in collaboration with Hexen Cult. So both the logos down there. And I mean, look at the things. It's black and white, devil down there. It's amazing. I love the artwork too. I love their logo. Whole thing is just fantastic. Take a look inside. Cool sort of A5 style print here. We got the tools of the trade on display. Sign of the Antichrist with the names of the guys down there on the bottom. We get some lyrics here, all very nicely presented, and of course, as you would expect, it comes on a bright pink. No, it is a black LP, of course, with big pentagrams on there. Total death. You know what you're getting. It's good stuff. I really enjoyed this one. I love having this kind of approach black metal in my collection. I love that there's modern bands still doing this stuff. Just plug in and play Hail Satan, Sign of the Antichrist from Nachtmaar. And the last record I'm going to be showing today is the Sophomore full-length release from North American band made up of Canadian and US musicians. And it's been getting a lot of hype because it's well deserved as well. The new one from Departure, Chandelier, Satan's Soldier of Fortune. Fantastic. 3 members going by the names of Finalis, Crucifixus, and Vinificulum. Vinculum, there you go. What instrument they play each is unknown and seems to be the case across all of their releases. They just have the 3 guys, or 3 girls, we have absolutely no idea. But they are members of Akitsa and Ashpool, so perhaps you can work it out. Here they're playing some Napoleonic black metal on their Sophomore full length. It is such a good album. Musically, I hear sort of early Ifanak, early Satanic Warmaster, that kind of thing, or just good old-fashioned Panzerfaust era Darkthrone. Lots of D-beat and loose guitars, big fuzzed-out punky riffs, drums altering from blast to a more martial sound. I guess that's sort of with it's appropriate given the theme of the band, very military. Venomous, absolutely spat-out vocals. I love the sound of those. And there's like a layer of pomposity with the use of keyboards sounding at times very enthroned darkness triumphant. So yeah, some tracks use it as an intro, and then it feels like it comes off more like early Abigor, but then when they blend it with the tracks, it is definitely filling that sort of 1997 era Dimmiborg gear. Their 2019 album, Antichrist Rise to Power, really took people by storm. So much so that Nuclear War Now were then sort of trying to fill in the gaps while the guys got on to write the Sophomore. They were reissuing demos on LP. They found an EP and chucked that out as well, just to get new music out to people, because people were very excited about Departure Chandelier, and well deservingly so, because it's very interesting, well composed black metal, really powerful stuff, I think, too. So the songs are all very unique and have their own identity. I think that's what's really helping this band. It's not an album of 8 tracks that are all sort of, this riff on track A, this riff on track B, and that kind of thing. Every song has its own pace, its own delivery, its own identity. So I think that's really helping with these guys. The title track and the last song of the album, Satan's Soldier of Fortune, is a strong marching anthem with a really killer riff in it. So good. It's about the only track on the album where you get clear use of double bass drums as well. Not a double bass drum heavy band, but that last track is when you start hearing it. So that was nice to hear, and just proves my point that each track is very unique, and not just alternating between blasts and double kicks the whole way like many other bands. So this really is an excellent follow-up to the previous album, Antichrist Rise to Power. Is it better? I don't know yet. I'm only on my second listen through, having only just got this one last week, but it's clearly an excellent album. It's going to appear in people's end-of-year list for sure. And like, honestly, on that topic, if you look into death metal and black metal, we're at March. I could probably come up with a list already. It's a strong year, folks. All of this, there's no good metal made anymore. Nah, you're full of shit. For more info though on this album, I would say go watch Kellen's review. He did for the Heavy Metallurgy. He really schooled us, I think, on the themes behind this album and goes into each song. So I'm going to direct you to go check that out. Kellen's review of Satan's Soldier of Fortune for the Heavy Metallurgy. We'll take a quick look at the appearance inside, which is Very nice. I put the hype sticker on the inner as I could. And I did mention before that I'm not one on the splatter vinyl, but this one I think works really well because it covers all the colours. So there you go. I think it actually kind of works pretty well. And I was unexpecting. I did not expect to receive this variant. I ordered this from local distro. Well, not local. I mean, they're Australian, but they're not local to me. Overuse down there in Tasmania. And I was lucky to get the colour variant. I think black is the other one. And there's the band in there. The three guys looking like they're standing in front of an old collapsed building. Crucifixus, Verniculum, and Fanalis. Napoleonic War black metal, and it's a perfect descriptor. Look at that. You've even got the old coins there. Great presentation, great themes, interesting themes for a black metal band. And yeah, there you go. And I love their logo too. Completely illegible, but very fancy. We'll just go with fancy. Calligraphy font. Can't beat it. Departure Chandeliers. Satan's Soldier of Fortune. A really good album, and I'm going to enjoy digging further into this as the year progresses. And that's all for this black metal update. I've still got a heap of records I've got to show, so there'll be more of that coming at some point in the future. But I hope you enjoyed checking out these 9 albums I showed today. If you did, please make sure you like, subscribe, check out this thing, and I'll see you next time.